Okay, so now we want to start talking about adding and subtracting. So what's the deal when we have fractions? Like if we want to add 1/3 plus 1/4. Well, the rule is you have to have common denominators. Okay, now this one, they don't have common denominators, but in this video, we don't want to talk about that. So let's say we have, we're going to talk about it in the next video. So let's say we have 1/6 plus 5/6. Well, look at the denominators. Are they the same? Yes. So you can combine the numerators. You can say 1 plus 5 over 6, which in this case would be 6 over 6, which would simplify to be 1. Okay, so that's just a little review of adding. Okay, so here we have a subtraction problem. The good news is we have common denominators. The denominators are both x squared minus 9. So I can subtract the numerators. I'm going to write it this way. 5x plus 1 minus, now I have to remember I'm subtracting all of that numerator. So I put in the parentheses so I'll remember to do that. Okay, so that's the first step. The denominators were, well, the first step was to look at the denominators. They're the same, so now I can subtract the numerators. So that means my first numerator, that's going to be just what it is, but then I have to subtract all of the second numerator. All right, so when I simplify there, I'm going to take off those parentheses, 5x plus 1 minus 4x, and then that's going to become plus 2 over x squared minus 9. Now, if the x squared minus 9 is bothering you, we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, just remember you got to distribute that minus sign. Okay, now when I combine like terms in the numerator, what's 5x minus 4x? X. And what's 1 plus 2? 3. Okay, I'll just put this for now. I'm going to take an extra step. Because now it's a rational expression, which is great, but we want to simplify if we can simplify. Now you might say, well, why didn't we do that when we were multiplying and dividing? Well, we didn't need to because we already did all the canceling we could do before we wrote the expression. But now there's a chance that maybe I can simplify this. Now I'll tell you, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. It just depends on the problem. My numerator, if you go back a few videos, it talks about how to simplify a rational expression. You want to factor the numerator. Well, that's not going to factor. It's just going to be x plus 3. And then you want to factor the denominator, which does factor. It's the difference of squares. I feel like we've seen that one a couple times. X plus 3 and x minus 3. So probably at this point you'd say, oh, I see, something's going to cancel the x plus 3's. Now sometimes students get confused on this part, but the numerator canceled out. Well, you can't just ignore it. You have to put a 1 up there, okay? And then x minus 3 on the bottom. That's the answer. Now, I noticed in the textbook that for all these problems, and I haven't been doing it, but I'll do it on this one, they talk about the excluded values. When we talk about excluded values, we have to go back to the original. So remember this x squared minus 9? We have to say to ourselves, hey, by the way, that factors into x plus 3, x minus 3, and so x cannot be negative 3, and x cannot be 3. Now, they're putting that in with the answer. I didn't do it because they didn't tell me to. They just said to subtract. They didn't say anything about say what the excluded values are. But, you know, it's in there and you could do that. But it goes from the original denominator, not after you cancel. Because you might be saying, well, wouldn't it just be the x can't be 3? No, you have to go by the original problem. Okay?